Hi, welcome to the Self-Publishing Roundtable. This is our weekly roundup of indie publishing news and stuff for the 20th of March. It's not the 20th of March where I am, but I really don't care. It's too early in the morning for me. So I'm Erica Conroy, the host, and joining us today in the dark shadows of witness protection is romance author Trish McCallan. Hi, Trish.
Hello.
And also Robert Chazz Chute is also joining us. Hi, Robert.
Hello, Erica.
Hey, so what shall we start with, guys? We've got a few items. I guess we'll start with the one that Trish really wants to discuss. But this is something we've touched on briefly in a previous blab, but we will go into a little bit more in depth here. So a few weeks ago on Kindle, people started noticing these resell buttons on their ebooks product pages. They've since been removed, but this did, however, prompt a lot of authors to get quite worried, especially when reports are made that back in 2013, Kindle had applied for a patent to resell ebooks. And we'll have a link to that patent on our webpage tomorrow. And then less than 2 months later, Apple also applied for a patent. Again, we will share that link on the page tomorrow. So who wants to start with this one?
I'll start actually with a clarification on that.
Okay.
For one thing, they didn't actually show up on the product page. They showed up in the overall search function. So if you did a search for a particular book, you would end up with all the different options, including the Kindle used sales button.
Okay.
And to clarify, that was for ebooks.
Yes, for ebooks.
Mm-hmm.
So now, of course, a lot of people mentioned it. I went and looked at all my books in the Amazon.com just regular search function, and they all had used ebook buttons on them. If you actually clicked on the used ebook button, however, it would just take you to your regular Kindle page. It didn't take you to anything that was for sale. Now, one thing, guys, I'm having horrible feedback and I can't even hear myself talking. So if I sound weird, that's why.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
You sound fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, since then, these buttons have been removed. So you won't find them anymore if you do a general search in the in the regular Amazon store. But for probably a good week, those buttons were there. So they have them. I'm guessing they probably have them hidden again.
So you're thinking maybe they were doing some A/B testing?
I think they might be getting it set up, just seeing, what they can do with them and stuff. I don't see that it could have been a mistake. I mean, it said right on their used Kindle book. So how can that be a mistake? I think that it was something that they were playing around with, maybe just kind of getting it set up, and it wasn't supposed to be visible yet.
Okay, so how do we feel about this as authors, that there's potentially Apple or Kindle will have the ability to resell our digital product?
I think as an author, it's going to be the biggest game changer yet, because if they do what they did with paperback books, they'll have used Kindle books available on your Kindle book page, meaning that your customers can go to your Kindle book page, look at the blurb, look at the cover, decide to buy the book, and then turn around and buy it used. And you might get a fraction of the royalty or the money that would have went to you if you'd gotten it, if they'd bought it new. And with ebooks, you don't have the same, you don't have to, readers would not have to worry about, broken spines, books that have been basically trashed, not knowing what they're getting, because a digital book is going to be like they're the first reader.
Well, it depends on how malicious some people want to be, but yeah.
When this news first came out, the speculation was that this was a defense against patent trolls. But since they've actually tested it, that throws some doubt on whether it was just an idle
just in case.
preventative measure. If this does come to pass, then yeah, I think it would change things quite a bit as far as people fleeing from Amazon. But if but the other part of the story is Apple applied for the patent as well. So where would we go to is the next question.
Well, not Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
So we might end up being in a situation where this is the new normal. Wherever you go, there you are, unless you're selling directly from your own website, which very few people have enough of an email list to make that work.
And I also want to know if it's like the lending program where if you lend it to your friend, it gets temporarily removed from your Kindle device so you can't read it while your friend is reading it. So if you sell it, then you no longer have that digital copy either. I mean,
according to the patent, that's the way it would work. According to that patent that Amazon did, once the reader sold their copy of the book, it would be taken off their Kindle. And the author's also supposed to get a certain amount of the revenue, but I guess it would depend on what the reader sold the book for. I mean, if they're selling the book for, say, 99 cents, the author's going to get a fraction of that, and you're just looking at less money down the road.
Yeah, if this comes to pass, there's no doubt at all that it's very bad news. And I could see the indie author community getting up in arms about it, but I don't see Amazon changing anything because we get up in arms. I wonder if it would apply to the big publishers as well.
They'd hate it, wouldn't they? I mean, if you think about it, they're still trying to push their print books over ebooks.
Well, those use buttons were on all the books. I checked all the traditional authors. I knew they were on all theirs too. So it wasn't just indies. They were signaling it out. It was across the board.
Kate has an interesting question. Do you think this is Amazon's answer to publishers jacking up their ebook prices to $12.99 and such?
Don't know.
That could be. That's an interesting theory, a plausible hypothesis. Because it is kind of ridiculous that an ebook would be as expensive as it is as it's sold for the fees that the big publishers are charging for their ebooks is it does push people toward print, certainly. And when I haven't bought an ebook at a traditional publisher's price ever. I don't think.
But when did the agency model happen? Because if that was back in 2013 when Kindle applied for this patent, that would make sense of that kind of thinking.
I don't remember. It might have been around that time. It was after 2011, I know.
So then the thinking, the question is now, why did they just bring it up again a few weeks ago? I mean, I'm wondering what's prompting this.
Well, I wonder if it doesn't have something to do with the court case that's pending to decide whether ebooks are intellectual property or not. Right now, the way it's set up, the copyright's set up, they couldn't sell used ebooks. So that could have something to do with it.
Yeah, because at the moment, when a reader buys an ebook, they're essentially just licensing it.
Right.
They don't technically own it. So they're going to have to change the meaning of an ebook in order for a reader to actually own or resell it later.
Yes, but readers are going to want that because almost every reader that I have talked to is upset about the fact that they don't own their ebooks, that they're licensed and they feel they could be taken away from them at any time.
Okay.
Even though generally that doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. But they're used to owning their books. Paperback books they own, they're on their bookshelf. So they're shocked to find out they don't own their ebooks, that they're just licensing the use of them.
Well, it's the same as MP3s as well, isn't it? Digital products. So I think there's this wider ramifications here. If that intellectual court case happens and they do change the meaning of an ebook to, something that can be resold, then it's opening the floodgates for MP3s, and the music industry are just going to get so fucked off.
Yeah.
Where will it stop?
Yes, it is a slippery slope, and right now it's kind of hard to imagine, like, the argument that, well, I have a digital copy and now it's used. It sounds silly on the face of it, but whenever there's big money and lobbyists involved, then this really could become concrete. I could see this happening down the road. I hope it doesn't happen, but I also feel like it's totally out of my control.
Yeah, there's nothing we can really do about it other than lobby to keep the copyright the way it is for ebooks.
Yeah, and I wonder if the music industry would actually was following this probably very carefully, and why haven't we heard anything from them? Because they've surely got to realize that this is going to affect them down the road. I had no idea that there was a court case either until you mentioned it, Trish.
Yeah, that's it's been in the news a little bit lately, but honestly, it hasn't been brought to as many people's attention as it probably needs to be.
Oh, well, no, we have something more to worry about. Excellent.
Yay!
Isn't that the nature of indie publishing, though?
Oh.
Of authorhood, actually?
Yeah, well, it's like any business. It's there's always something to worry about.
And there's always people sticking their heads in the sand, too.
Yeah, but as you say, there's really is nothing much we can do about it. And I kind of feel like, the occasionally things pop up where people do get up in arms and get really upset about the changes, and the only answer is that we have to change with the changes. Because what am I going to do? Go sell shoes? I don't have the temperament for that kind of nonsense. I worked retail before. I can't go back. I write books, and I'm going to continue to write books. I wrote books before when I was just writing for myself and wasn't intending to sell any, and that'll continue. So I feel kind of, helpless to my urges.
Yeah, I think you're a lot better off concentrating on writing and get books out there than stuff like this. But I also think that people need to be aware of what's happening in the market, what's happening around them.
It could be an opportunity for a platform that is not doing this in the future. I could definitely see, like, for instance, I noticed that iBooks has changed a little bit in that they are making 250 promo codes available to authors. And that is the other thing that they do that is different is you can have your book in the Apple Store on pre-order for up to a year. And then when you finally have it on sale, all the accumulated pre-orders count for sales on the first day. These sorts of minor innovations, it's quite attractive to me, and I can see where if other platforms finally begin to innovate, and if they aren't doing this sort of nonsense where they're reselling digital copies, then they could have a flood from Amazon, authors fleeing to a marketplace that doesn't do this sort of thing.
But remember, Apple has that patent as well. And if the readers are going to be like, oh, yeah, I can resell my ebook. Yeah, they're going to
yes,
do what
I'm
the
not
readers
saying that.
want.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Apple's going to be the answer. I'm saying that if there is a platform that ends up not doing this, it could be a big boon to them. I'm thinking actually of Kobo.
Yeah, Kobo will let you have pre-orders for quite a while too. I've got one that's 9 months in the future right now there. I don't know about promo codes, however, with them, if they let you have so many promo codes.
Unfortunately, the other sales platforms are traditionally incredibly slow to innovate, and they don't even do a lot of the basic stuff to emulate the success that Amazon has. So I don't know. We'll just have to see where this goes and keep an eye on the story.
Oh, I do have one more point. Like, if they are allowing resellers, would the readers only be able to resell the ebooks that they bought from that platform and not from another platform?
I would bet so, because how would they get them off their Kindles or iBooks or wherever they send them, unless they're actually purchased through that distributor?
So that then locks the reader in again more into being on with that platform.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Okay, shall we move along? So we all know Audible, right? The audio books, basically. So Audible has recently announced something called Audible Clips, which allows users to share snippets of the audio from the audiobook they're listening to onto their social media, effectively making the ability for it to go viral as another way of making an audiobook visible. So what are your thoughts on this one, Robert?
Could be very useful. Still, as a Canadian, still pissed off that ACX is only in the UK and in America. So technically you can get onto Audible as a Canadian, but it's still a major pain to manage to do it. It's been years now, and they still haven't managed to figure this out. So when I finally get on Audible, this is going to be another way to promote books, and I think it's awesome. But right now, still relevant to me, thanks to ACX still not managing to get that done.
What about you, Chazz?
I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. I haven't even used clips or anything of the audiobooks on my website, although I've been planning on putting an audio page up. However, my audio readers are very, very loyal, and I think they'd love to be able to share clips.
Making them an almost a audio street team, in a sense.
Yeah.
You see how those who are heavily into the audio books as authors are going, Mr. Burns, like, yeah, excellent.
If you take a look at how the Kindle users are sharing clips from, their Kindle from various books, I think it could actually be very popular among audio readers eventually.
Yeah. So is there anything else we want to add to that one, or should we move on?
Well, just its potential, but until I see it, I guess the thing is, how do you? I'm not exactly sure how that would work as far as, are you still just tweeting a link to something on Twitter, for instance, or on Facebook, or is it embeddable? If you can embed it, then it could be even more powerful. If it's just a link, I don't think so much.
Okay, and what else has been in the news? So we talked about BNN pulling out of the Nook, pulling the Nook out of the UK just a couple of weeks ago on the blab. And we also noted that in their financial statement for the previous quarter, they were going to modernize their website. Ooh. Well, they've done something to their website. There is a change. Do you guys think this is just a little bit of window dressing, or has there been any actual changes or improvements going on behind the scenes? What do you?
Well, what did you think of the website, Erica? I detected a look of derision there.
Well, I'm not actually a Barnes & Noble user, and since I'm not in America, I can't actually upload as an author either, not directly. So this is something I actually put to K-Boards to ask for their opinions of the people who can use it. And some of them were of the mind of, Well, they've just dressed up a corpse in a new suit. And others were like, yeah, it looks all right, but why is it such narrow, skinniness? But what interested me was when some people went to search for their actual books, putting in the titles in the search bar, 15 other products that only had one word from the title were appearing before their book even. And one other person said that they looked for their book, which has a Japanese title, and 2 CD covers with no images on them popped up above her book. So it does seem like there's a little bit of issues still with the search function over there.
Yeah, and the search function is key. I mean, the problem with all the other platforms compared to Amazon is Amazon works as a search engine and the others work as bookstores. And I took a look at the website. I didn't think it looked too bad, although, yeah, you're right about that narrowness. But ultimately, it's about the search function. And if your search function gets confused, then your customers get a whole lot of other options besides you when they're looking for you. So nice try, guys. Go back again.
Yeah. What about you, Trish? Do you have any thoughts to add on that one?
Yeah, I actually have a thought on Barnes & Noble pulling out of the UK. Okay. I think that decision's going to crash their US Nook store too, because a lot of people don't realize that it's only the UK that they pulled out of. I had like 3 or 4 readers ask me what I thought about, Nook going down. When I told them it's just in the UK, they were shocked. They thought it was the US store too. And even after I told them, no, it's just the UK, they're like, well, I wouldn't buy anything from them now anyway, because that kind of sets a precedent for them doing that to their readers. So I think it doesn't really matter whether it's the UK or US, that they're going to see a big dive in their numbers.
Yeah, it really reminds me of, I remember a few years ago walking into a Blockbuster when they were closing the States. And the guy was trying to sell me another year membership. And I was like, dude, you're going to be closed next week. I was wrong. It was 2 weeks. But they were trying to sell annual memberships right up until the last minute. And this is indicative of, if all of the UK goes crashing down, Nook, this is a case of mismanagement, and all we got to do is wait 5 minutes. Not literal 5 minutes, but it's the writing is on the wall.
Yeah, it's not looking good. They haven't made any improvement, I don't think, for years.
Well, I will say that for me, there was an improvement on the search function because my books actually showed up. In the past, they haven't, if I've done a search on Nook. Under my name or under an actual individual title, I wouldn't get anything. And this time I actually did. So came up under my name and all of the titles. So for me, the search is actually better than it has been in the past.
Just people forget that these sales platforms rise and fall. I remember getting a email from Smashwords a few years ago saying, now we're on Diesel. And I thought, what the hell is Diesel? And of course, I think Diesel went away. It doesn't exist anymore. But there are lots of smaller sales platforms out there that very few people have heard of, or maybe they're really huge in Lithuania. I don't know, but I don't really sell any books in Lithuania, so not an issue for me.
You've got the wrong covers. That's why they just don't appeal to the Lithuanian people.
The Lithuanians hate my covers. I think people in UK hate me, but that's okay. It's really this is a market that is always in flux. There's always going to be changes, and someone was talking about the arc of service provision where. There was the golden age of Amazon, like 2011, 2012. Those were good times for Amazon, and it was very weighted towards indie authors. Now as they chip away at the advantages of being on the Amazon platform, maybe Kobo will rise, maybe a new sales platform that we don't know the name of yet will rise up. But these things are always in flux, and all we can do is build our email list while we wait and see how things shake out.
I guess it makes the email list even more important than it has been in the past, especially for these unknown upcoming changes.
That's right. So everybody listening to this, go to allthatchazz.com and sign up for a damn email list.
Fair enough.
It's awesome.
Yeah, anything else to add in there, Trish, or shall we move on to the last item?
Nothing for me to add on.
Okay, so we have CNET, the website that's does technology news and reviews, and they have recently announced that they are launching short stories that are based on technology, so speculative fiction, essentially. From at the moment, where did you say the authors were being drawn from, Robert? I can't quite remember.
Oh, they're using National Book Awards winners, and they're looking for heavy hitters who are award winners. They're not looking for your typical Shifter romance, I don't think.
No, not unless there's technology involved.
No.
And
there is some weird note about how it has some. Each short story has a commentary on technology, which says to me that they're going to get a lot of science fiction. So I await their call.
Yeah.
So did it ever give a payment for that? What they pay for these short stories?
No, we don't know that information, unfortunately.
Well, I wonder if it's like Huffington Post, where they're expecting you not to expect payment because of the publicity or the promotion of your name.
Yeah, and the question is, to me, is do a lot of people who read CNET, is that kind of like going to the drugstore for coconuts? Do you feel like, I'm on CNET, so and there's a short story that has something to do with technology, and as an engineer, I love short stories. No. Yeah, that's going to the drugstore for coconuts. Nobody does that. It's a neat idea. I would expect that this is going to quietly go away in a few months.
Well, I would suspect they're using it as trying to draw people to their website. Readers, they're probably not getting very many people coming in and looking at their website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It is, like you said, that there is Huffington Post doing that. And do you remember a while ago, Starbucks was providing little stories on the takeaway coffee cups, little short stories or information like that. I just wonder if it's random companies that we use or look at essentially almost every day that are trying to hop on to the book bandwagon, or if they're hoping it would increase exposure of their own products, or why are they even doing this? I mean, what is the real purpose, basically?
Well, I don't see Starbucks feeling like that's going to draw more people into their store. That would probably be more of something to entertain their customers. But CNET, I think theirs would be a different purpose. I think they'd be trying to draw people onto their website.
Kind of like a publicity stunt for English majors.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder, I mean, because I haven't read any of these short stories, and they're supposed to be quite technology focused and based. I'm wondering if it's almost like if there could be some product placement or something in the stories, like, we're talking about the latest tablet in the future, and it can do this and that, and look, there's an ad for iPads or something in there. If they're just using it for some kind of subtle product promotion, or even in your face promotion.
I don't know. Do you see a National Book Award winner going, Yeah, I'll shove an iPad in there, and
Well, I mean, the
it
site
just
could shove just an image of an iPad in there for like
yeah.
purposes.
I think this is kind of the germ of a good idea that's going to quietly go away. It won't last.
You know, it might have more possibility if it was like a serialized novel rather than a collection of short stories.
And if the author was Stephen King.
Or if they had like a collection of authors that each wrote a couple of scenes in one serialized novel or something. I think that might be something that would draw people to it, to see how everybody approached the subject and how the story played out.
Yeah, well, they've gone for prestige authors that, I mean, if they're kind of from the a very literary bent, which doesn't have as broad an appeal. Like the reason I think of Stephen King is he was, I think, the first author who did a serialized experiment where he put something out as a serial in purely digital form, and that would, if he were doing it, that would make it a destination where you'd make sure you go to check it out because it's Stephen King. But when you are talking about literary niches, there are very few authors. I don't remember anyone from that list that really, jumped off at me like, oh, there's a name that I, have read before and would seek out.
And they would all be American authors that I've never heard of. So why the hell would I go to the website?
Yeah.
From New Zealand, it seems very, like you said, quite niche.
It's quite niche, yeah. And it's what is the website's utility function? Why are you there? And this strikes me as something that, because they haven't sought out a Stephen King or a Kuntz or name somebody who's in the top 1%, an outlier, then I don't see that this has legs.
Yeah, I mean,
I really doubt it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll keep an eye on it if we can remember to keep an eye on it, because I mean, I'm not even familiar with CNET myself. I had to ask what it was about, and all I got back was, here, look at the link, and I'm like, they don't have an about page. I still have no idea what they're about. It's not until I scroll to the bottom, and it's like, oh, it looks like technology news and reviews. Okay, got it. No, not interested. I get that info elsewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Just quickly touch on a news item that happened earlier in the week and doesn't really affect too many people, but it is something to bring up. But I don't know if you've heard of the Dollar Photo Club, but they're a really, really inexpensive stock photo site. They've just recently announced that they will be closing, and they've been bought up by Adobe Stock, which is a much more expensive photo stock site. And but the users of the Dollar Photo Club are going to be able to transfer over to Adobe Stock, and they've got, I think, maybe they've been given about a year's worth of cheaper options from Adobe Stock. So it does bring up a very important note that a lot of us who create our own covers, or even go to cover creators who then go to these photo sites, it just shows that these things can close at any time. What happens to our images after they've closed? Do licenses change? Or do we have to go find something completely different? I mean, what are your thoughts on this one, Trish? It probably doesn't affect you too much, as I think you have.
Well, it actually, but it actually does, because I use those to pull images for Facebook, for my blog. It's too dangerous these days to just grab any image because you don't know if it's licensable or not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I just actually bought 100 images from Deposit Photo for, I think it was $100 for 100 images.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I think that if they close down, if you've downloaded something, the license would still have to hold, because you can't be held responsible for the company being out of business. When you'd expect that the license would continue past the demise of the company. If only because for no other reason that if you downloaded something from this place a year ago and you haven't gone back to the website and they haven't contacted you, how would you know that your license was no longer valid? In the meantime, if you're looking for cheap cover art to use for Twitter or Facebook, what was the service that you used, Trish?
It's called Deposit Photos, and they have specials every so often where they'll offer 100 images for $100. I think the current special might be over today or tomorrow.
Okay. Another place that a lot of people go to for Facebook ads and that sort of thing. If you just want to pay $1 for some kind of image, a lot of people go to Canva. That's canva.com. And that's mostly, you pay $1 for an image there. And it's usually appropriate for attaching a photo to a tweet or for Facebook ads, that sort of thing. Their photo stock is not really extensive or fantastic, but it's not expensive.
There are some sites that you can go that are royalty free that you don't have to pay for, but there usually some requirements, like you have to show where it came from or something like that. Just to be careful to look at that kind of information before you start using them on Facebook.
You know what the problem with those royalty-free things are? If you type in royalty-free images and it gives you like hundreds of search options, and you click on those search options, 99% of the time they always have a subscription service. They're not free.
Yeah, it seemed to me years ago I used something called Morgue Files. I don't know if that's still even a thing. It could be. And right now, the place that I go to for ad images and that sort of thing is Pond 5.
Oh, yeah.
That's Pond and the numeral 5. But for the stock photo and that sort of thing, I usually go through my designer I go to my designer for all my covers. And he has a fancy subscription where he gets a lot of images that I certainly couldn't afford. So that's what I would go for.
Yeah, for my cover art, I do the same thing. If I find something that I like, I'll send it to the designer, and then they buy it off of their own subscription.
And a lot of the people who provide the stock photos, the photographers or whatever, they will usually put them up on multiple sales sites. So if you do find it one place, you might be able to find it somewhere else where you already have a subscription or whatever. But yeah,
that's true. It's
just kind of sad that they're closing down, and not necessarily closing down. They've been bought up by someone else, and it's really the people who buy the stock photos that are kind of like, because you get a year of cheapness from Adobe stock, but then after that, you're up to the Adobe stocks like quite expensive.
And that's when you go to some of the cheaper places.
Yeah. Fortunately, there are lots of options out there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all we have time for. We've actually gone over, but when haven't we? Thanks again to Trish McCallan for coming in.
It was fun. I'm glad you guys had me.
I'm glad you came on. And also thank you to Robert Chazz Chute.
of
allthatchazz.com. Chazz with 2 Z's, 2 Z's if you're nasty.
And if you're not nasty, the website won't work. Trish, do you want to share your website?
She's lying.
Well, if you only put in 1 Z, it's not going to work, is it? Because you're not nasty. Trish, do you have a website you want to share with the listeners?
Oh, it's just www.trishmccallan.com.
Awesome. And I'm Erica Conroy from the Self-Publishing Roundtable, and we're at selfpublishingroundtable.com. Go to the website, make comments, listen to all of our podcasts because we interview authors. on Thursdays as well. So this is just one of our 2 podcast shows. So thank you again, everyone, for listening. Good night, Internet.
Good night, Internet.